Hello and hi everyone. This is Dr. Adnan Akhundzada and I'm a cybersecurity specialist and consultant and currently working as an associate professor at the University of Doha for Science and Technology. Today we will have a comprehensive webinar on Introduction to Cybersecurity. The sequence and overview of the webinar on cybersecurity are as follows. Initially, in 1.0, we will discuss what exactly is cybersecurity, what is the definition of cybersecurity, how people perceive cybersecurity and security in general, what is the difference between information security and cybersecurity, the evolution of information security to cybersecurity, the evolution of digital security to cybersecurity, what is perimeterless security, and why cybersecurity is becoming a moving target. So these are some of the extremely important concepts that we learn and understand in the topic 1.0, that is what exactly is cybersecurity. Once you get to know and learn the conceptual background of cybersecurity, then we will move to the next phase, that is 2.0, and that is known as the impact of cybersecurity. The impact of cybersecurity mainly discusses the importance of cybersecurity, the impact of cybersecurity on the financial markets, varied mega organizations and enterprises across the world, the impact of cybersecurity on online community where billions of people are right now online. And then if I give you an example of just YouTube online community is more than 2 billion. So and what could go wrong if you target a huge transportation system or an electrical grid or a smart grid or a mega dam? So you can get thousands of people's lives just in 1 minute. So the impact of cybersecurity is very important. So we will go through different case studies of very renowned case studies actually, like Google breach, JP Morgan's breach, and you will realize that not even the safest organization can are secure from the impact of cybersecurity attacks. So while discussing the impact of cybersecurity, you will thoroughly understand the importance of cybersecurity, and by the end we will also discuss some job sectors, some career paths of cybersecurity, and the exceedingly importance of cybersecurity from year to year. So we'll have some statistics to show the increasing importance of cybersecurity over the passage of several years. Once we get to know the impact of cybersecurity, we will then move that how a hacker thinks. We need to know how they think and how they form an attack actually. So in 3.0, we will learn who is a hacker, what is hacking, what are the different classes of hacking. Hacking is legal or illegal. What part of hacking is legal or illegal? And then we will get to learn the different phases of uh, hacking, like scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, clearing tracks. So all the 5 phases should be learned thoroughly and with essential terminologies. Hacking is an extremely important concept in cybersecurity. So we'll get to learn thoroughly these concepts in 3.0. Once we get to know the hacking mentality, we will then move to 4.0, where we will discuss major cybersecurity attacks and threats. So we will discuss the different kind of attacks. There is external attacks on a system, internal attacks on a system, and then some broad categories of attacks like physical attacks, dialogue attacks, social engineering attacks, penetration attacks, and we will also discuss some novel trends in these threats, some novel and very very recent trends in attacks. We will also discuss attacks on a particular system. So we will discuss that malevolence, malicious intent is increasing and randomness is increasing, and finally the automation is increasing in cyber attacks. So these trends will also be discussed thoroughly in 4.0. Once we get to know the overview of major cybersecurity attacks and threats, then we will move towards 5.0. Cybersecurity key domains are extremely crucial. You can never learn cybersecurity without knowing the key domains of cybersecurity. If you thoroughly know the key domains of cybersecurity, then you will be in a better position to understand comprehensively cybersecurity. So there are 9 domains, 9 potential key domains of cybersecurity that we will discuss, such as defense in depth, security engineering, compliance, security management, physical security, governance, business continuity planning. So all these will be cryptography. So we will discuss this apparently all these key domains and their essentials in 5.0. Once you get to know the cybersecurity key domains, you will get all your answers. So during this presentation, you will see that once we move through the presentation from the start to the end, you will have most of your answers uh, uh, that you raise in your mind. So all the questions will be answered once you complete the whole presentation. Cybersecurity key domains. I would like the the brain of this presentation. Finally, we'll also discuss how to maintain secure infrastructure. Maintaining secure infrastructure is crucial. Once we get to know the infrastructure is entirely secure, then we need to maintain it. For maintaining, we need different kind of security governance models. So we will discuss security governance model. We will also discuss the NIST cybersecurity frame. There is that is the most renowned cybersecurity frame in the United States. We will also discuss some of the golden rules of how to maintain a secure infrastructure. So the whole webinar we will be concluding on top 20 golden rules, golden steps to secure and maintain critical infrastructure. Securing and maintaining a critical infrastructure is extremely crucial in cybersecurity. So it's not just about you go through all the process, all the way to secure an organization or a system, and then you just left it. Rather, it is a continuous process to maintain a secure critical infrastructure. So the sequence of the webinar is critically important. We will go with knowing cybersecurity, the conceptual background of cybersecurity, and then we will move to demonstrate the impact of cybersecurity on global communities and global financial markets and enterprises, business boundaries and business stakeholders, and how the career paths can be made in cybersecurity, and what are the some of the coolest career paths in cybersecurity. And third, we will illustrate how a hacker thinks, like different kind of phases of hacking, what are the motives behind an attack, and I mean, what is the mentality of hacking? What are the different classes of hacking, and particularly whether hacking is legal or illegal? What part of hacking is legal and illegal? And then we will move towards the major cybersecurity attacks and threats, where we will discuss the internal attacks, external attacks, attacks on an organization, and particularly attacks on a system, and some of the major attacks like social engineering attacks and dialogue attacks, penetration attacks, physical attacks. And finally, in 5.0, We will also discuss the key domains. Key domains are extremely crucial, and every domain needs to be understands. The each and every domain is a complete field actually. If I would like to tell you that cryptography, cryptography itself is a huge field, although it is one of the key domain of cybersecurity. But if you get into cybersecurity, if you get into cryptography, you will have like the quantum cryptography, you will have attribute based cryptography. So you will have the next generation of cryptography. So that's a huge field. Every key domain is a huge field, and we will discuss the 9 potential key domains apparently to give you an intro to cybersecurity. And finally, we will discuss how to maintain secure infrastructure, and we will demonstrate and illustrate different security governance models in maintaining a secure and critical infrastructure. Before moving to cybersecurity, we need to understand what is security in general. So, generally, in the non-cyber world, security is used to secure, protect, prevent bad things to happen. And it is quite simple. It is also considered as measures taken to guard against espionage or sabotage, crime, attack, or escape. The quality or state of being secure, something that secures. Security in general is also defined as freedom from risk or danger, something that gives or assures safety. Freedom from doubt, anxiety, or fear. It's the second name of confidence. So security in general is the overall concept is confidence or giving assurance of safety and protection. Since we already understand what is security in general, now we would like to talk thoroughly on what is cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is the protection of internet connected systems. These internet connected systems creates a digital space. That space is known as cyberspace. And that landscape is known as digital landscape. So cybersecurity is nothing but the protection of internet connected systems. It is the protection of digital assets. You can also say online assets. So cybersecurity is nothing but the protection of digital assets. But what does it include? That's the question actually. So it includes hardware, it includes software, it includes the data from cyber attacks. So it includes everything inside. The underlying software, the underlying data, the network itself, the data in transits, the data on the communication channels, the data stored. So it includes literally everything. But one thing needs to be understood, that cybersecurity is the protection of internet connected systems. So here there is a bit of confusion that is raised. What is information security then? So information security deals with the information regardless of its format. It could be a paper document, it could be digital and intellectual properties in people's mind, and verbal and visual communication. So information security is only concerned about the information in any format. Information security is designed to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. If we think in a broader perspective, then information security is a subset of cybersecurity. So the key thing needs to understand in cybersecurity is nothing but to understand that cybersecurity is all about the protection of internet connected systems. It is only concerned with protecting digital assets. Everything ranges from networks to hardware and information. that is processed, stored, or transported by inter-networked information systems. So these are the main things you need to understand. And I already illustrated the difference between the information security and cybersecurity. Somehow you need to understand briefly these two concepts. We will discuss it in the later slides, and you will understand more about cybersecurity in the coming slides. In this slide, we mainly discuss the evolution of information security into cybersecurity. The slides, I will certainly emphasize on the cybersecurity. If you see here, the cybersecurity is clearly the backbone of any security, whether that is information security, ICT security, network security, internet security, critical information infrastructure protection. So I will not go in too much details of various security mechanisms like ICT security, network security, internet security. I would just conclude that the cybersecurity is the backbone of every security, because the rest of the securities are mainly the subsets of cybersecurity. If you see here, the information security is on the outside, because sometimes the information is placed on paper documents actually, which is and that could be in a non-digital perspective, it could be a simple document, could be any document. Okay, so cybersecurity, the broader perspective of information security is too broad. However, when it comes to online, when it comes to digital space or digital landscape, it is always as part of the subset of cybersecurity. So this slide is, you see that the cybersecurity is representing the backbone of all the rest of the securities. In this slide, we will discuss the evolution of digital security into cybersecurity. If you see the slide and you see this digital security and this is cybersecurity, you see that all these securities like smart grid security, IoT security, physical security, OT security, IT security, information security, these are all subsets of cybersecurity. However, the cybersecurity is going to evolve to digital security, because we previously understand the definition of cybersecurity, that it is nothing but the protection of internet connected systems, and this perimeter is going to disappear. So in some of the organization that has perimeter, but there are many organizations where there is no perimeter, and cybersecurity is evolving to digital security. Right now, previously there was a concept of digital security which includes everything, but right now digital cybersecurity has already been evolved to digital security. So right now, cybersecurity and digital security is exactly one and the same thing. In the coming slides, we will see the concept of perimeter and perimeter-less security, and you will understand more about cybersecurity. In this slide, we will discuss the concept of perimeter-less security. And this is very important, because one of the part of the cybersecurity, and that is the subset of cybersecurity, is physical security, where we talk about the perimeters of an organization, and there are boundaries of an organization. But in perimeter-less security, there are no boundaries, there are no perimeters, there are no walls, there are no physical boundaries. So a person can be anywhere on the planet, on the global planet, and he or she can access any digital assets and could possibly launch a disastrous attack on any digital assets. So perimeter-less security is, you will see here, this is an adversary which has no boundaries. He is sitting somewhere in a different country, and he can access the APIs of any digital assets, and he can simply launch an attack. So in this case, cybersecurity is a moving target, which is extremely difficult to trace. So as days are passing, cybersecurity is becoming an extremely challenging field, because the cybersecurity Cybersecurity is actually a moving target. Moving target. You don't know where is the attacker, where is the adversary, where is the opponent launching varied kind of different attacks. So, what the concept of physical security, where there are boundaries and people are working inside boundaries, is entirely different than perimeter-less security. Or the actual challenge here is this in the cybersecurity is that cybersecurity is now a moving target. It's all about perimeter-less security, and that's make what this feels more and more challenging. After understanding the concept of cybersecurity, we will now discuss the impact of cybersecurity on online community. So if you see the slides, if you see the slide, and you will see that there are millions and millions of people online, and the digital landscape is increasing every passing day. There are billions of devices. Every new day, there are millions of devices coming online with billions and millions of people around. So you can realize the impact of cybersecurity on online community, since the people are increasing exceptionally and exceedingly every day. The same goes with different devices that could be IoT devices, that could be IIoT devices. So the digital landscape is increasing every day, and that's why the impact of cybersecurity is growing exponentially. And the biggest reason of that is cybersecurity is becoming challenging every passing day. Since the number of people, the number of devices are growing, the impact of cybersecurity will also grow accordingly. So in these slides, I would like to realize you people that the impact of cybersecurity is huge. And what could go wrong? What if cybersecurity is launched against a transportation system, or against a traffic management system, against an energy sector, or against dams, or against the electrical grids, smart grids? So the impact will be huge, and it can literally takes the lives of millions and billions of people around. So this is how the impact of cybersecurity goes, and this makes the field even more challenging and more interesting. Right now, the scope of cybersecurity is exceedingly and exceptionally broader than it used to be in the past. In this slide and the upcoming slide, I will discuss briefly the financial impact of cyber attacks. If you see here on this slide, the cost of attack on varied businesses in 2015 raised to around $400 billion, which is a huge amount. And it increased in 2019 around almost from $2 to $3 trillion globally. So I would like to also bring your attention to see that it has an immediate cost, which you can see clearly on the slide, but it has also long-term cost. So the operational disruptions, lost value in customer relationships, value of lost contract revenues, etc., is huge. And if you go further, you will see that from October 2013 to December 2016, the business has lost around 5 billions. Okay, and it just only ransomware caused more than 5 billion in 2017. So you see that a single cyber attack can goes up to billions of dollars. So the impact, the financial impact, will increase exceptionally and exceedingly high as days are passing and the number of digital devices are increasing, the number of online communities are increasing.
So the financial impact will go more high. And this field becomes even more challenging because there is a huge financial value involved in cybersecurity. Now, I would like to discuss some renowned data breaches across the globe. These are these mega breaches are online available on different platforms, and these are extremely renowned case studies. So I would like to bring your attention to the first one that is known as a Google Play hack. A Turkish hacker has brought down Google Play's entire system from twice, preventing any downloads or uploads to it. Google has huge amount of servers across the globe, but it was easy at that time that a Turkish hacker brought it down for several hours, causing millions and billions of people across the globe to prevent their downloads and uploads to it. Another mega data breach was the Home Department data breach that has cost 56 million debit and credit cards was stolen. It has caused millions and millions of dollars losses to the Home Department. Although the Home Department is considered to be super safe and secure. JP Morgan Chase data breach is also a very renowned data breach, and during the attack, the contact information of 76 million households and 7 million small businesses were compromised under this data breach, which is so huge, and you can literally see the impact of a cybersecurity attack. Another case study that is extremely renowned is the eBay data breach, where 145 million users were compromised. Their passwords, email addresses, birth dates, mailing addresses, and other personal sensitive information were entirely compromised. eBay is a huge platform, and it was completely compromised. Here on this slide, I would like to bring your attention to the year of mega breaches. That is the year of 2014. So if you see or in 2014, Snapchat, there was around 4 to 5 million people affected. The same goes with the Orange company, so it was around 800,000 people affected. And you see, it starts from January, and the chart goes up until December, and it has huge there is huge amount of financial losses. There is huge amount of sensitive information compromised, and it cost millions and billions of dollars. And the sensitive information was huge, like the JP Morgan Chase was around 76 million people, and the Sony financial impact was around $15 million. So the 2014 was the year of mega breaches. This slide mainly focuses on data breach statistics from 2013 to March 2015. And you see that there are millions and billions of data breaches. The statistics clearly shows that every minute there were thousands of records compromised. And in every hour, you can see that the amount is too much. And every day is even higher than that one. So the data breaches statistics is exceptionally and exceedingly high every day, starting from 2013 to March 2015. Since we discussed some mega breaches, but the underlying main reason was launching different kind of and different variety of attacks. One of the major trends in 2014 was malware. Malware is a malicious software that is used to exploit different kind of digital assets. It could be Android applications. It could be operating system. It could be any sensitive. Even you can launch a huge amount of attacks on online businesses and websites using a variety of different kind of malware. So you will see here that the trends in 2014 was too diverse. And also previously you saw that this is the year of mega breaches, also 2014. With the passage of time, the trends in attacks are becoming much more sophisticated. Advanced persistent threats and many other kind of sophisticated threats have now been introduced. So you will see that the growth of 64-bit malware increased in 2014. Some old school malware come back again, and there was much more kind of variety and attacks launched in 2014 using different malwares on cloud-based businesses, and others very much sophisticated and sensitive information was leaked through a variety of malware used in 2014. While we were discussing malware trends and different kind of different varieties of malware attacks, so different kind of malware attacks have been launched again, different kind of organization. More professional social sites or social networks were targeted, like Facebook's, Twitter, and much more. The online communities have been attacked. Java remains highly exploitable in 2014. Attackers are more interested in cloud data than in your network. So the more bigger the network, the more interesting it is, and malware has the capability to evolve much more in a more complex way. So you can evade different kind of detection mechanisms also using different kind of malware. So data destruction attacks, targeting the weakest links in data exchange chains, offensives compromising the offensive side of security. So a variety of attack. I can't express it like in a much detail of going into the malware trends, but since we were discussing later on the different kind of attacks, I will discuss in more detail malware attacks. While we were discussing the impact of cybersecurity, so one question definitely comes into your mind, that what information do cyber criminals steal, and why they steal this kind of information? In this regard, I would like to bring into your notice that your data is the next biggest asset on the planet. So data is the next biggest asset on the planet, and they are after it. There are varieties of data. I have mentioned few of them here on this slides, but they are after any kind of data that is a bit useful to them. So they are after, like I said, they are after medical data. Medical data is quite important for them. Data on your computing devices, financial data, educational data, your identity, the sensitive information online is of huge importance to the cyber criminals and cyber attackers. So they mainly target this area because this is the next biggest asset on the planet. Extending on the previous slides, the importance of data for the cyber criminals. The same, your online and offline identity is extremely crucial for the cyber criminals. Your online identity reveals a huge amount of information, like your psychological thinkings, what do you think, your expressions, your behavioral expressions, what you like, what you don't like, and every bit of information that you personally reveal on online is of huge importance to the cyber criminals. The same goes with your offline identity. Every cyber criminal using different kind of social engineering attacks, they want to get you, they want to get to know your offline identity. They want to see what do you do offline, what are your activities, how do you secure your information, and all this stuff is of huge importance to the cyber criminals. So both your online and offline identities are extremely crucial and exceedingly important for the cyber attackers and cyber criminals. After understanding and learning about the impact of cybersecurity, now I would like to tell you that cybersecurity is a billion-dollar industry, and it's going to be a trillion-dollar industry in 2030. The global cybersecurity expenditure in 2021 was $262 billion, and in 2022 it was $301 billion, and they are expecting in 2025 is $458 billion. So it's going to be a $1 trillion industry in the upcoming years, and that clearly shows the graphical abstraction of the expenditure clearly shows that the field is becoming more challenging and exceedingly important. So you will see that the trends of cybersecurity will be growing exponentially in the upcoming years. Since we already know the exponential expenditure on cybersecurity, but different kind of business stakeholders can also play a critical role in cybersecurity. The information risk management regime can impose several policies on the network security, on malware prevention, on monitoring, incident management, secure configuration, user education and awareness, home and mobile working, managing user privileges, and all these kind of biggest 10 steps towards the implementation of a good cybersecurity strategy in any organization. So the business stakeholders can also play a very critical important role to reduce the amount of cyber attacks and reduce the amount of different kind of business losses that is huge and tremendous. After having discussion on the overall impact of cybersecurity, I would like to mention the 10 coolest jobs in cybersecurity. So this is an attractive and a very lucrative career. So you can be a digital forensic analyst, you can be a digital forensic investigator, you can be a penetration tester for systems and software, you can be an application pen tester, you can be a security engineer, you could be a SOC analyst, you can be a security consultant, cybersecurity consultant, you could be a cybersecurity engineer, you could be a malware analyst, and you could write different kind of malwares and viruses. So you could be a technical director, technical cybersecurity director. You can be a cybersecurity specialist in this area. So there are many jobs in this domain, and they are all very attractive and very lucrative, and the salaries are paid in this area is extremely huge across the globe. From now onwards, we will be discussing how a hacker think of launching an attack. What are the motives, goals, and objectives of launching a cybersecurity attack or an information security attack? So an attack usually comprises of motive, that is your goal and objective, plus the method and what kind of method you are going to use to exploit that particular attack, to exploit and launch that particular attack, and what kind of vulnerabilities you are going to exploit. So vulnerability is a weakness inside a system, inside a policy, or inside any control or strategy. So that is known as a vulnerability. We will discuss these essential terminologies in the next slides. But most of the motive is either intentional or unintentional. Some attacks are usually launched unintentionally, but most of the attacks are intentional. Most of the cybersecurity are intentional. So some of the motives behind the attacks are disrupting business continuity, information theft, manipulating data, creating fear and chaos by disrupting critical infrastructure, propagating religious or political beliefs, achieving the state's military objectives. So you can see all these kind of motives behind information security attacks and behind cybersecurity attacks. Motive is extremely important for an attack. If a cyber criminal finds this beneficial for his purpose and his goal and objective, then he will definitely go after it. In this slide, we will learn some very essential terminologies in cybersecurity. And these are very important terminologies that you need to know for further understanding down the line the subject of cybersecurity. So the first thing is hack value. Hack value, it is the notion among the hackers that something is worth doing. So a value that is somehow beneficial for a hacker to exploit. that value is known as that. If he finds a value and something beneficial, that value is known as a hack value. The more greater the hack value is, the greater the exploitation will be, and the more interesting it will be for the hacker to have a good hack value. Zero-day attacks are the attacks that have never been launched in the past. These are extremely new attacks where there is no existing detection mechanisms available and no other mechanisms are available. Particularly, the attack itself is extremely new, it's super new to the system. So that is known as a zero-day attack. Vulnerability is a weakness in the design or implementation, or could be any error in the development and security of the system. So it is just a weakness, existing weakness, or it could be a design weakness, it could be an implementation error, could be any weakness that is easily exploitable is known as a vulnerability. Or what is daisy chaining? So getting access to one network and or a computer, and then use the same information to exploit multiple networks is known as daisy chaining. So exploiting one end and getting to the last end through the same information and exploiting the whole network is known as daisy chaining. What is an exploit? A breach of IT system security, a breach of IT system security through vulnerabilities. I mean, once you exploitation is simply uh, getting into a weakness to bring something beneficial for yourself is known as exploitation. So it's a breach. Doxing is a very important idea that you need to collect through social media the personal information about an individual. So you do consider, like, I mean, you do social engineering to bring the online identity of a certain individual is known as doxing. What is payload? Payload is the part of an exploitable code that performs on the intended malicious actions such as destroying, creating backdoors, and hijacking computers. So payload is basically part of the code which can be sent through the code, which can be sent, and then it is easily exploitable to create backdoors and to hijack different kind of networks or computers, or to destroy the intended system. A bot is a malicious software that is remotely controlled. Bot is extremely important. Where you if you want to launch an attack from remotely, you need to create a bot, and the bot, after the bot creates a network, and that is known as botnet. And botnet is extremely challenging to detect, to monitor, to mitigate, and to stop, and to prevent it from certain attacks. So bot is a malicious software that is usually remotely controlled from a very remote area. Now we need to understand a very important concept in cybersecurity that is known as hacking. So what is hacking? Hacking is basically a process to exploit the existing vulnerabilities of a system to compromise it. So it refers to the exploitation of system vulnerabilities and compromising security controls to gain unauthorized or inappropriate access to the system resources. If I would like to explain it in a more simple way, it is nothing but the exploitation of the system to compromise the security of a system and to get unauthorized, inappropriate access to the system to get your goals. So hacking could have many purposes. Hacking can be used to steal sensitive information, can be used to steal intellectual property, and can be used to compromise the digital assets, the sensitive digital assets across the globe. Hacking have certain phases to do it, to launch it, because it's a complex process, and it has some very essential terminologies that you need to know so that you can get the complete concept of hacking. In the next upcoming slides, we will get to know the essential concepts and the different phases of launching a hacking attack and how a hacker thinks of launching a cybersecurity attack. So first of all, who is hacker? This is an important question needs to be answered. A hacker is an individual with exceptional technical skills, and he is able to exploit any existing vulnerability, and he can come up with certain new kind of strategies to exploit a system, to gain unauthorized access, to steal sensitive information, to compromise digital assets across the globe. For some people, hacking is a hobby, and for some people, they used to they want to get access illegally to certain things, which is beneficial for them. So it depends. But a hacker is an individual with exceptional technical skills to compromise digital assets. Since we already know who are hackers, now we need to know and understand different classes of hackers. The first class is known as black hats. So these are individuals with exceptional talent and technical skills to exploit different systems. However, their intention is always bad. Their intention is always malicious. That's why they are known as black hats. On the contrary, white hats are people with heavy talent, and they are technically stronger. However, they use their technical skills and talent on the for the defensive purposes. I mean, they are also known as security analysts. So different organizations hire these white hats to exploit different kind of vulnerabilities in their system to make it stronger and stronger against black hats. So their intention is always good. They work on the positive side of hacking, and that's why white hacking is always legal. Gray hats, they sometimes work on the offensive sides, and they might sometimes they also work on the defensive side. So this area is a gray area. Some people are very good in this area, and some are very bad. So gray hats is an area of mixed intentions. Suicidal hackers, these are individuals who aim to bring down critical infrastructure, and they don't fear of going to jail or any kind of punishment. That's why they are known as suicidal hackers. Script kiddies are basically the beginners of hacking. They just know to write small scripts to exploit the existing vulnerabilities, or they can use the existing tools and techniques to exploit any systems. However, they are the people who have just started hacking, and they are the initial beginners in this area. Cyber terrorists, these are individuals with wide range of skills motivated by religious or political beliefs to create fear by large-scale destruction of computer networks. So their attacks are usually launched on a highest level, on a very high level, to bring more disruption of large computer networks. So cyber terrorists are basically uh, very dangerous particularly in hacking. State-sponsored hackers are basically individuals employed by the government to work against different governments, to defame different governments, or to damage the information of different governments. So these are the employees of a government whose main purpose is just to attack different kind of governments for their different advantages. Hacktivists, on the other hand, these are people who promote a political agenda by hacking, especially by defacing or disabling the websites. So after this slides, you must have one question in your mind, that whether hacking is legal or illegal. So white hacking is absolutely legal. However, the gray hats, I told you that there are two areas. So the good and the bad. So the good people are legal, and the bad are illegal. So the rest, white hacking and some part of gray hacking is legal. However, the rest of the majority of hacking is entirely illegal. Now we need to understand deeper the different and diverse phases of hacking. So hacking is basically a complex process, and it goes through 5 different kind of phases that is known as reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and clearing tracks. So the first phase is known as reconnaissance. So this phase is known as basically information gathering. So in this whole phase, you basically gather information regarding the targets, all the information relevant to the target. So sometimes you interact with the target actively, and that is known as active reconnaissance. And sometimes you use passive, indirect kind of strategies to get and gather all the information. So, like for example, searching public records or news or releases is known as like passive reconnaissance. However, on the other hand, uh, getting direct access to the system and getting straight information from the system is known as active reconnaissance. The second phase of hacking is known as scanning. Scanning is basically a pre-attack phase where where the attacker basically scans the network and gets some specific information to go further for exploitation. So the hacker basically use the initial uh, gathered information during the reconnaissance phase, and then he further exploits the specific information. For example, let's say if he wants to use a port scanner to get the different kind of live ports or open ports to attack a system. So this is basically a pre-attack phase, and it uses the gathered information in the reconnaissance phase further to get some more specific information in the network for further exploitation. So scanning is extremely important, and scanning sometimes is very difficult. We use different tools to scan different kind of networks to get some specific informations to exploit the existing vulnerabilities in the system. So the third phase of hacking is known as gaining access. Since you already gathered the external information regarding reconnaissance phase and then the more specific information regarding the network through scanning phase, and now you have obtained access uh, to the operating system or any application on the computer networks. The gaining access could be on the operating system level, could be on the network level, could be on the application level. The attacker basically can escalate privileges to obtain the complete system control. It can use password cracking tools. It can use buffer overflows. It can use some denial of service attacks. It can exploit some open ports to get and gain access to the system. This is the phase where the actual attack starts, and this is one of the most dangerous part of the hacking phase. Once you obtain access, now you need to go further to define the level of attack, how far you can go to exploit the whole system. So it depends on the level of gaining access to the system. Fourth phase after getting access to the system uh, is known as maintaining access. So the maintaining access should be on 4 levels actually. So the first level is like you maintain access. The maintaining access refers to the phase where the attacker tries to retain his or her ownership of the system. I mean, he wants to remain the owner of the system for a long time to make the system compromised forever. The second is the second maintaining access is in terms of like he can create backdoors, he can create rootkits, or he can create trojans to remotely access the system always. So he want an exclusive access even remotely to the system. The third one is the attacker can upload, download, or manipulate data applications and configures on the own system. So in this case, he is always able to upload, download different kind of applications. Finally, the attacker used the compromised system to launch further attacks. Like for example, you have one compromised system, and then you go to compromise further more systems. So it is an initial stage from here you launch one attack and then you go further for different exploitation using this first place as a base place to to extend the attacks to different kind of systems. So the fifth phase is clearing tracks. This whole phase is all about hiding the identity of the hacker. So so on the first level, it covers the tracks, refers to the activities carried out by an attacker to hide malicious acts. The second one is because the hackers wants to have a continuing access to this victim's machine, so it should go remain unnoticed and uncaught, deleting evidences that might lead to his prosecution. And finally, the attacker overrides the server system and applications logs to avoid suspicion. So clearing tracks is extremely important for a hacker to avoid suspicion, to get unnoticed and uncaught, and to hide malicious acts so that nobody can trace him, and he or she always wants to hide his or her identity, so that he cannot go for he cannot be caught or can be prosecuted. From now onwards, we will discuss different kind of attacks and their subcategories. So there are many diverse kind of attacks, but we will certainly get to know a few of the main categories with their subcategories. So the first one is known as physical access attacks. So it could be you can put something on a wire and you can get physical access to the organization or the system. You can literally take the server. So server hacking can be done physically, and vandalism, you can literally take the whole service with you and take the whole information physically. The second main phase is known as dialogue attacks. When you start a conversation with someone, you can literally take the conversation by either active eavesdropping or passive eavesdropping. So you can listen. For example, if I'm going to talk to someone, uh, I can literally download the whole communication actively or passively. I can impersonate myself. I can represent someone who is very loyal to the other person, but at the same time I can be an attacker. So there could be an impersonation attack. Message alteration, I can literally alter the message. So dialogue attacks is there are many different kind of dialogues attacks. So the third one is penetration attacks. How do you want to penetrate to a system? So I told previously, we learn in the scanning phase of hacking that what is scanning. So scanning is you get the information like port scanning or network scanning and the rest. So you probe into, and then you use break-ins. You can use denial of service attacks, and then you can use malware attacks to get to and to penetrate different kind of systems using penetration attacks. We will discuss this in detail one by one in the upcoming slides. The final one is social engineering attacks. So social engineering is basically training your employees to get to know information about someone. They can use some opening attachments. It could be password theft or it could be information theft. But you tricked and trained your employees to do the same thing. So that is known as social engineering attacks. In the upcoming slides, we will see what are these attacks in details and what are the defense strategies against these attacks. So the first one I would like to talk about is social engineering. I told you previously that social engineering is tricking or training your employees how to get information about someone. So he or she may ask someone about his information directly, or maybe he can use some indirect methods to get and gather that information. For example, if I want to know your telephone number, I can straight away ask you, what is your telephone number? What is your email address? May I know your password? So these are basically social engineering tricks and techniques. So this is a huge field, having huge amount of techniques used for social engineering. You may send a file to me and ask to get this information. So what are the defense strategies to avoid social engineering? So you have to train your employees that not to give information easily, particularly the sensitive information. You can also impose in the organization, like in different kind of sanctions and punishments that if someone is found to be someone is found to 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 have revealed some sensitive information about the organization, he or she must be punished. And regular awareness. So different every time you get a new things, you get a new strategy of social engineering, then you need a regular awareness of the whole organization to avoid social engineering exploitations. The second take that is known as dialogue attacks. So one subcategory is eavesdropping. So if two people, if let's say A and B, A is communicating B, and there is a person who can impersonate himself as A, he can literally see the message, he can read the message, he can intercept the message, and he can alter the message. And this kind of impersonation is known as active eavesdropping. So it is quite easy to be done. So how do you defend against active or passive eavesdropping? So the one of the defense strategy against active and passive eavesdropping during dialogue attacks is known as encryption for confidentiality. So you encrypt the message, so even he or she can intercept the message actively or passively. He cannot see what exactly the message is. He cannot alter the messages. So you can avoid this kind of attack using encryption mechanisms. During the dialogue attacks, if you found some was an impersonation attack. I mean, if there is a legal person who is a legal entity in a communication, and someone impersonate his or herself as legal entity, however he is an attacker, in that case the defense strategy is strong authentication mechanism. So if you make it strong, if you employ a strong authentication mechanism, you can avoid all sorts of impersonation attacks, and it's quite easy. So authentication is a great defense strategies against any impersonation attacks in a dialogue kind of attacks. Under the dialogue attacks, one of the subcategories is message alteration. If an attacker is able to alter a message, let's say, for example, he can change it, so he can show a balance of $1 to millions and thousands and billions of dollars. Okay, so message alteration is extremely dangerous. And what is the defense strategy? So we'll discuss in the next slides what is the defense strategy for message alteration. So secure dialogue system is the main defense strategies against dialogue attacks. So a secure dialogue system is made of like the authentication mechanism. They deploy encryption mechanisms, and they also take care of integrity of the messages. So authentication is to prove who you are. You need to authenticate yourself, and then encryption is, it provides confidentiality. Nobody can see the message itself, what is the secret inside it. And integrity means is nobody can alter the message. So the secure dialogue system basically deploys all these three mechanisms to completely secure the system against any kind of dialogue attacks and their subcategories of attacks. One of the main category was network penetration attacks. So how to penetrate a network? So in these slides, you can see that we deploy basically different kind of defense strategies. So you have a firewall, and then you can basically harden the server. So applying different defense in-depth strategies to avoid any kind of penetration attacks. You basically you do these kind of strategy. You put in place firewalls, and then you harden the server, and also you also harden the client PCs. So these are some of the strategies against penetration attacks. We will discuss more in the upcoming slide. One of the subcategories of penetration attack is denial of service attacks, where an attacker launch and floods with huge amount of messages the server. So the server is flooded with overloaded messages, and the servers become unresponsive. So denial of service is an attack where you render the service, where you can literally stop the services of any server to provide diverse services. So you stop the mechanism of providing services. You make them busy, and the server can't do anything. So it is one kind of penetration to get into the system. So denial of service attack is extremely dangerous. There is distributed denial of service attacks. There is reflective denial of service attacks. So there is a variety of denial of service attacks. Another major subcategory of penetration attack is scanning. This is also known as probing attacks. So in this case, you can literally send probe packets to see the reply, and you can see the live ports, the live host, and you can gather a huge amount of information, specific information that can literally be used for further exploitation. You can exploit single systems, and you can exploit the whole network. So it depends. But scanning attacks is scanning and probing attacks are extremely crucial for corporate exploitations and large scale distributed attacks. So one of the major defense strategies against penetration attacks like denial of service, probing, scanning, all these attacks is intrusion detection system. So you place an intrusion detection system where it can literally detect the suspicious packets. It can literally detect it, and then it has mitigation strategies and prevention strategies. So intrusion detection system is a major defense strategy against any kind of penetration attacks. It can also detect different kind of malwares, whether that could be a virus or a worm. So malwares are two types mainly. So viruses is something that is an exe file. When you click it, it spreads and infect the whole systems. However, worms replicate itself and get infected the systems with the passage of time. So any kind of probing attack, whether there is a break-in, there is a denial of service, there is malware attacks, can be detected using an intrusion detection system. And the defense strategy is, again, you have to make the server hardened. So hardening means the defense in depth strategies where you cannot simply access the server, but there are various defense levels to get access to the server, and that is not one level but different defense levels, and that's why we call it as hardening the server, where we deploy the defense in depth strategy. We will later on talk about what is defense in depth strategy. In this slide, we basically discuss some of the external threats to information security and cybersecurity. So human is the weakest link in cybersecurity. Human can be easily exploited, and human is a very complex entity to control, because you cannot put any antivirus on a human cerebral cortex, on a human cortex. You cannot know what is going on in his mind, what he is thinking, and what creativity level he is carrying on. So there are human threats. Physical security threats are there. There are legal threats, other threats. There are social and economic threats, software threats, communication security threats, network security threats, and much more on this side. So these are some of the external threats to information and cybersecurity. Going much deeper on the different types of attacks that are basically information security threats. So it could be, it is also cybersecurity attacks. So some of these attacks are basically uh, SQL injection attacks, where we used to inject using different kind of SQL injection mechanisms to exploit things. There is Internet of Things attacks, the shadow broker attack, GDPR blackmail attacks, distributed denial of service attack. There is ransomware, cracking, crime as a service is also used. There is phishing attacks on different websites. So there are diverse types of attacks. I cannot go much deeper into each and every attack, but these are some of the most potential attacks that are currently in service. That is currently used, and some of the advanced form of these attacks are still in process. This particular slide is types of attacks on a system. So let's say we take a single system, and then what kind of attacks can be used. So there can be operating system attacks where you can exploit the OS vulnerabilities to gain access to the root, to gain root access to the system and exploit further the whole system. There could be misconfiguration attacks for getting illegal access to the system. So there are many misconfiguration vulnerabilities that can affect the web server. There are application platform vulnerabilities, database vulnerabilities, network kind of misconfiguration attacks, and that can all be exploited to get illegal access. Even possible owning of the system using misconfiguration attacks. The third level is application level attacks. Attacker basically exploits the vulnerabilities in the application running an organization information system to gain unauthorized access and steal or manipulate data. Application level attacks are kind of like they can exploit buffer overflows, and they can use cross-site scripting, they can use SQL injection attacks, man in the middle, session hijacking, denial of service. So all of these are basically application level attacks. Finally, we shrink wrap code attacks. So attackers exploit default configuration and code and different kind of libraries where they can find some sort of vulnerabilities, and they exploit the code, and then they use it for further exploitation and launching major attacks through shrink wrap code attacks. Operating system attacks is the potential and extremely sophisticated attack to get access to. That's where you can get the root access, and then somehow the level it decreases when we go to misconfiguration attacks or application level attacks. Shrink wrap code attack is also extremely dangerous and can be used for further huge exploitation of the system. Since we were discussing different types of attacks, so conceptually, cyber war and cyber terrorism is also a potential concept to learn and understand. So, cyber war and cyber terrorism is basically politically activated, and it is usually used against different countries to propagate your agenda and to get your to get you I mean to get your purpose. So cyber war and cyber terrorism are interlinked, and these are usually prosecuted against governments and military networks in order to disrupt, destroy, and deny their use. In recent years, the media has been creating a sensation about the prospects of cyber warfare between nations. Every nation has the armaments, computers, and softwares to be crucial threat without owning a superpower. Since we were discussing different types of attacks, so information warfare is a potential concept in cyber attacks. The term information warfare is very simple to understand. So the use of ICT technologies, the use of information and communication technologies to take competitive advantage over an opponent is known as information warfare. So it is also known as info warfare. So there are two types. One is defensive information warfare, and the other one is offensive information warfare. So the defensive one is basically the protection of info war. So it includes different strategies like prevention, deterrence, alerts, detection, emergency preparedness, and response. However, offensive just refers to the uh, offensive warfare that involves like attacks against ICT assets of an opponent. So these could be web application attacks, could be web server attacks, could be malwares, could be ransomware, could be a variety of different attacks that can be used against an opponent, any opponent. Information warfare is also known as a fifth generation warfare. So the governments also use info warfare, and some political activists they also use. So it has different kind of purposes, but this is one of the potential. We are one of the potential attack, and we are living in an era where ICT has a huge role in these attacks. Industrial espionage is a potential type of attack, And the sectors commonly targeted by industrial espionage are computer hardware, IT sector, energy sectors, aerospace, automotive industry, biotechnology, chemical, public, financial, and retail. So the data at risk of corporate espionage is trade secrets, client information, financial information, marketing information. These are some of them I have mentioned, although this area is huge. So industrial espionage has a huge potential in cyber attacks, and it causes billions of dollars of losses to different industries. Since we already discussed the types of attacks, different varieties of attacks, and now we need to know the novel trends. What's new in these cybersecurity attacks, cyber attacks actually? But one of the biggest thing is growing randomness in victim selection. Actually, I told you in the initial slides that cybersecurity is a moving target. So there is no targeting is increasingly random. In the past, they usually target huge firms, and it was easy to track based. However, right now there is a huge amount of randomness, and tracking a cyber criminal is extremely challenging. So growing randomness in victim selection is exceedingly innovative and novel in cyber attacks. The second potential novel trend in cyber attacks is growing malevolence. There is most early attacks were not malicious, but right now most of the attacks are launched with malicious intent. So malicious attacks are becoming the new norm. It's the new normal. Third most potential novel trend in cyber attacks is growing attack automation. Attacks are highly automated rather than humanly directed. Essentially, viruses and worms are attack robots that travel among computers. So automation is extremely dangerous and extremely devastating, and can bring billions and trillions of dollars of losses. Uh, Besides, automation can target large-scale distributed networks. So basically the randomness, the malevolence, and attack automations are the new trends in cyber attacks, and it's increasing every passing day. Through automation, it is possible to attack millions of computers in minutes or hours. So automation is extremely dangerous. Discussing novel trends and top attack vectors in cybersecurity uh, is very important. Is very important and crucial. So the first one is cloud computing threats. Since most of the businesses are shifted to different clouds, whether that is a public cloud or a private cloud, so the attackers have now targeted different clouds, and the threats on the clouds are devastating. The second one is advanced persistent threats. These threats are mostly focused on stealing information from the victim machines without the user being aware of it. So advanced APTs, advanced persistent threats, are disastrous to the industry and different enterprises and organizations. Viruses and worms, every passing day, new viruses and worms are released. And this area is potentially dangerous because the various new zero-day attacks are launched using different kind of viruses and worms and malwares. Mobile threats, why the landscape of mobile threats is increases because the mobile industry is huge. The telecommunication industry is going to be a billion-dollar industry, and that's why the attackers usually target these huge mobile platforms. Botnet, a botnet is a huge network of compromised systems, so used by an intruder to perform various network attacks. So botnets is extremely difficult to trace, and botnet has the evasion techniques. Botnet can evade can easily evade. So it is difficult to trace by various SIEM systems or intrusion detection systems, and this is one of the most potential area botnet. Insider attacks. So insider attacks are also increasing. uh, to get unauthorized access and illegal access to different systems. So, but however, insider attacks, there is a huge research done on insider attacks, and this area is definitely evolving, but this area can be controlled using good awareness programs and using some cybersecurity tools and techniques to be deployed properly within an organization. The most potential and novel trend is the motivation behind the attacks. So the motivation of the attackers are changing tremendously, and the change in motivation can cause trillions of dollars of losses. Previously, I told you that motivation play a crucial part in launching a cyber attack. So if you see here, if someone is going to launch a denial of service attack or a distributed denial of service attack, he may use it just for fun, or just for punishment, or competition, or extortion. So motivation play a crucial role in launching a cyber attack, and this trending is extremely novel. Every passing day, new motivations comes into play in these cyber attacks, on a variety of different systems. Some of the novel trends also belong to the changing threat landscape. Since I told you that cybersecurity is now a moving target, so changing the landscape, the coming of the novel ICT fields, the emerging computational and communication fields. So the threat landscape is changing tremendously. New fields are emerging like IoTs, IIoTs, cyber physical systems. So the constant change in the threat landscape is also is also tremendous and potentially dangerous for the novel attacks. And this is something that needs to be considered in as a novel trend in cyber attacks. Sovereign threats. So sovereign threats are also extremely dangerous. In increasing disclosure is a huge one. So people are more interested in the disclosures. Third party cybersecurity risks are too much because everyone cannot develop their own software. So some of the industry and most of the industry are dependent on third party softwares, and that risk is still there. Cyber insurance is also play a crucial role, and cybersecurity risk management is always there. So these trendings needs to be taken into consideration. These are the key takeaways in cybersecurity trends. From now onwards, we will discuss, learn, and understand the key domains of cybersecurity. You cannot understand cybersecurity without knowing the key domains of cybersecurity. So the first domain of the cybersecurity is defense in depth. So what is defense in depth? So defense in depth is basically uh, placing multiple layers of security to protect an information system or to protect any digital asset. So once you place multiple layers of security, that is known as defense in depth. So if someone compromises one layer of security, he has to go through through another layer and then another layer. And this is also known as hardening of these cybersecurity systems. So if you see on the layered security frameworks, you will have, like, for example, it starts with data, so you will have encryption and other access controls mechanisms placed in. At the application, you will have input validation, you will have host intrusion detection system, vulnerability assessment, access control. At the host level, you will have host IDS, virus protection, and other mechanisms. So you will see at each level, for example, at the data level and the application level, the host level, the network level, and the physical boundaries, the perimeter level, we have different kind of mechanisms. So it basically comprises of layers of security at different levels, and that makes it extremely hard on the security, the overall security of the system. So defense in depth is one of the key domains of cybersecurity. It basically, defense in depth is an information assurance strategy utilized by managed security services in which multiple layers of defense are placed throughout an information technology system. It addresses security vulnerabilities in personal technology and operations for the duration of the system's life cycle. So defense in depth is extremely important concept to learn cybersecurity. The second crucial key domain of cybersecurity is security engineering. So security engineering basically comprises of two main parts. One is network security. Network security mainly comprises of firewalls, router switch security, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems, host-based security tools such as antivirus and endpoint protection mechanisms, email filtering, vulnerability scanning, and the second one is security operations. So previously we discussed SOC analyst, security operational analyst. So he or she basically go after each operations of cybersecurity. So these two comprises and these two constitutes security engineering. The third potential domain of cybersecurity is security management. Security management basically covers all aspects of protecting an organizational assets, including computers, people, building, physical boundaries, and other assets against any risk. So here you need to think like a hacker. You need to categorize assets, risk, threats, vulnerabilities, and exploits, identify different types of vulnerabilities in a system, identifies the categories of a cyber threat, determine the phase of a cyber attack, recognize common exploits. So all these things should be properly managed and should be properly cross-checked in security management. To further explore the concept of security management, security is considered primarily a management issue, not a technical issue, technology issue. You can identify and reduce risk, but you cannot eliminate it. Sometimes some people use top to bottom commitment and approaches, so top management commitments and then the operational execution, and then you enforce different kind of strategies, guidelines and rules and procedures to implement security management throughout the whole organization. To further dig out the concept of security management, we basically implement comprehensive security while doing security management. So you have to close all avenues of attack. You should carry on asymmetrical warfare. That means attackers only has to find one opening. You need to deploy defense in depth strategies, and then you need proper security audits throughout the entire life cycle to get to get place proper security management on the overall organizational assets. In security management, the general security goals is the CIA, that is known as the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality means that attackers cannot read messages if they intercept them, and integrity means they cannot do any alteration or any changes, and availability means the system should be available 24/7. So security management has to ensure the CIA, the general security goals. Besides that one, the confidentiality, data integrity, availability, consistency, control, audit must be properly done throughout the process so that we can ensure proper security management throughout the system. To further explore the concept of security management, it also carries the plan, protect, and response cycle. So you properly plan things, then you go for proper protection, and if there is anything still happen, you need to have some great response technologies, and you should be prepared to face any threat with complete preparedness. So planning is critically important. You need to have need for a comprehensive security, no gaps, nothing like that. You need to go for risk analysis. So you need to enumerate all the threats, and then you need to find the threat severity. So if you want to find the threat severity of any system, you first need to find the estimated cost of an attack into times the probability of an attack. Value of protection, threat security minus cost of countermeasures. So you need to prioritize countermeasures by value. And these are some of the formulas where you can easily find the threat severity of the attack, the value of the protection. That is extremely important while conducting the planning phase. of the security management. Since we were discussing the plan, protect, and response cycle of the security management domain of cybersecurity. So the protection means like installing protection firewalls, intrusion detection system, host hardening, etc. Updating protection as the threat environment changes. If the digital landscape and the threat landscape is changes, you need to update everything properly. Testing protection, security audits must be done at the protection level. The plain protect and response cycle. Respond is also very important to understand security management. So proper response needs to be done. Planning for response like computer emergency response teams, incident response teams, all should be properly placed, and there should be a complete preparedness for any kind of risk. So incident detection and determination must be done. Procedures for reporting suspicious situations, determination that an attack really is occurring, description of the attack, the level of the attack, everything needs to be properly done. And this life cycle goes properly. It starts with complete in great planning, and then it goes towards protection, and finally it ends with the response, with a proper response. To further and thoroughly explore the response cycle, respond also includes the recovery phase. So recovery, the first priority is stop the attack, repair the damage. Punishment, there should be forensics, there should be prosecution, employee punishment if some risk has happened. And finally, fixing the vulnerabilities that allow the attack. So at this stage, if anything happens, it should be properly fixed, and punishment and awareness and all these strategies should be properly regulated to avoid further happening of any cyber attack. Since security management is the most potential and crucial domain of cybersecurity, we previously discussed what is threat severity analysis and how you can find. I have previously given the formula of finding a threat severity analysis. However, this table gives you few things that needs to be done while going for proper planning. So the cost if attack succeeds, probability of occurrence, threat severity, countermeasure cost, value of protection, apply countermeasures, and then prioritizing different kind of things. Okay, so this table is very good. This is a diverse table. There are other entities, but these are some of the potential entities that I need to brought to your attention. To further know and understand the concept of security management, we also deal with risk. So the risk due to a set of attack is the expected or average cost per unit time. I brought some of the formula not to talk a lot of it, but these are some of the things that you need to understand on an abstract level, that how risk is defined and how the annualized loss expectancy can be defined, how the annualized attack incidents, the cost per attack can be fine. So these are some of the things that apparently you need to know on a very abstract level. So for in the planning phase, we need to find many things. If we properly do a security management of an organization, we need to go through all these formulas and all these things, the way I show you in different tables, and the way I'm just demonstrating here the how to find risk in these slides. Here on these slides, I would like to bring into your notice that risk reduction is also very crucial while doing security management. So a defense mechanism may reduce the risk of a set of attacks by reducing the cost per attack or the annualized incident attacks. So if you reduce the cost per attack and the annualized attack incidents, then you can reduce the gross risk reduction, which is known as GRR. So these are some of the formulas which you can easily apply, and you can find and you can reduce a variety of different kind of risks.
Gross risk reduction and NRR are extremely important. And the formula is given, and in the next slides, I will just briefly show how these things can be done. These needs to be done apparently. Once we go properly into a, if you want to know completely what security management is, it's a huge field. It's a huge domain of cybersecurity. So in these slides, I have brought an example for you people just to see apparently and on the abstract level that if you have different attacks available, so let's say attack Q, V, W, X, Y, Z. So the PA can also be calculated, okay, and the LA can also be calculated, which is the cost of the attack, cost per unit attack. So, and the GRR, NRR, the net ALE, everything can be calculated using a variety of different formulas in this domain. So, security engineering is an interesting domain of cybersecurity, and it carries a lot more mathematics in their planning phase and then in the uh, protection phase and also in the response phase. The fourth potential and key domain of cybersecurity is identity and access management. It is also known as IAM. So assigning identities, handling authentication, and managing the overall access control of an organization. So what is access control? So access control is the policy-driven limitation of access to systems, data, and dialogues. So normally we use passwords, access cards, tokens, biometrics. There are a variety of authentication mechanisms. If I get into to explore this area, just the authentication, it will take hours and hours to explain it. So briefly preventing attacks from gaining access, stopping them if they do, is known as is clear and is simply defining this domain, and it uses different kind of authentication strategies, and that's what identity and access management is. The fifth most crucial and key domain of cybersecurity is cryptography. So cryptography is the mother of cybersecurity. Cryptography is a method of protecting information and digital assets using different kind of crypto algorithms so that only those for whom the information is intended can read and process it. So it does not only provides confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It can also be used for authentication, accountability, and non-repudiation. So there are a variety of cryptographic algorithms which is used for protecting a variety of different kind of digital assets, and there are variety of mechanisms for each and each and everything. So if you just go for the integrity, you will find diverse mechanisms for achieving integrity using cryptography, and then for authentication and accountability and non-repudiation. So the cryptography is a huge area itself. And if you get into the cryptography itself is something that if I want to talk about it, it can take hours and hours because there are, I mean, there are many books written on cryptography, and there are diverse varieties of cryptography. And now, if you get into just to see the different types of cryptographic mechanisms, it will be huge. So there is quantum cryptography, there is attribute-based cryptography, there is many branches of cryptography. So just on the apparently level, this is a method to protect digital information, and this is one of the key and crucial part of cybersecurity. Most potential and crucial key domain is cybersecurity compliance. It is the same compliance as we usually do in any organization. However, here these are some of the steps that needs to be taken to carry out proper compliance. So you need to create a dedicated team. You need to conduct risk analysis exercise, set up controls to comply with cybersecurity standards, implement policies and update them regularly, monitor and respond to threats constantly. So some of these steps needs to be followed properly to ensure cybersecurity compliance. The seventh potential key cybersecurity domain is known as business continuity plan. So business continuity mainly focuses on keeping businesses operational during a disaster, while disaster recovery focuses on restoring data access and IT infrastructure after the disaster. So we need to properly carry both, like disaster recovery plan and business continuity plan. So these are some of the policies for business continuity plan that is shown on this on the picture. Uh, However, I cannot get into too much detail of how to maintain business continuity plan and how to do disaster recovery plan. But you can see clearly that business continuity plan policies and strategy, risk management, business continuity plans again in when it comes to do disaster recovery plans. So validation and testing, information technology, recovery processes, alternative sites, data backup, and offsite replication. So there are many kind of strategies, and since this is a huge field of how to conduct business continuity plans and how to conduct disaster recovery plans, but just on a brief level, business continuity mainly focuses on keeping the business operational during a disaster, while disaster recovery focuses mainly on restoring data access and IT infrastructure after a disaster. The eighth primary and potential key domain is physical security. So the word physical is very clear. So it's all about how to physically secure the whole system. I mean, it is all about the fencing, the physical boundaries, securing the physical boundaries, the placing guards everywhere to enhance the security of the organization at the entrance points. And also you have to properly go for HVAC systems in place. So physical security is all about the physical guardness of the physical infrastructure actually. And that is very simple to know. This is also extremely important. Physical security needs to be properly carried out. The placement of the webcams, the placement of the security guards, the fencing, and everything should be properly carried out during the physical security domain of cybersecurity. The ninth most crucial domain of cybersecurity is software development security. So once we talk about the software development security, it's all about proper secure coding training for developers, performing code analysis on new code, whether it be new applications or update an existing application, overseeing development processes and procedures, understanding update applications, feature requirements, and their implications on the security applications. So previously we do code, but there is not secure code. So this domain mainly focuses on getting secure coding for the whole development of the system. If the code is not secure, how come the whole security, the whole system will be secure? So it is one of the crucial part of cybersecurity, of the cybersecurity. So software development security is all about the complete development cycles should be secure. To further explore the software development security, we need to see here that the requirements and use cases, the abuse cases, security requirements should be properly done. The risk analysis in the design phase should be done. The testing plans, whether that is unit testing, black box testing, and external review should be properly done. Risk-based security tests should all be carried out. And the code, static analysis of the code, different variety of tools for securing the code, and properly training of writing secure code must be done. The test results of the code, the risk analysis should be properly done. The pen testing of the code, pen testing should be done. Application pen testing should be done, and a variety of pen testing should be done. And finally, the security breaks.
the field feedback should be given, so that properly we start from the requirements until the deployment phase, and all these phases should be properly secure. So this is all about, like, when we talk about the software development life cycle, every part of the software development life cycle should be secure. So this area is huge, and this is also the most crucial part of cybersecurity. Now, finally, we need to understand how to maintain secure infrastructure. Once you get an infrastructure entirely secure, how you will maintain it? That's the question, and it is one of the crucial part of cybersecurity. So you need to apply methods to enforce cybersecurity governance. There are many cybersecurity governance frameworks, and you can follow any of them. Some of the well-known cybersecurity frameworks are available everywhere. We will discuss a bit of it on this one. Then again, identify common security regulations and frameworks. Explain how current security laws, regulations, and standards apply to cybersecurity and data privacy. Recognize components of the NIST cybersecurity framework. We'll discuss this NIST cybersecurity framework. Recognize components of the Center for Internet Security, Critical Security Controls. So these are different cybersecurity governance methods and frameworks, and you need to follow properly one of them to maintain a secure infrastructure. Since I talked a lot about the cybersecurity governance models, there are a variety of different kind of cybersecurity governance models, uh, but mainly it comprises like of three lines of defense governance models. So the first one is operational management, where we carry out like operational responsibilities of managing risks. Typically, business processes, honors, and operations of IT technical controls, monitoring, and responses. So this is the first line of defense. We also carry the risk monitoring and oversight, so it includes IT risk management and in the internal risk management and compliance at the second line of defense. And thirdly, it mainly depends on audit, how we properly regulate different kind of audits to be carried out on properly on time, so that we can maintain all the three line of defense governance models. So the time frames are different. So some of them are like done monthly, some quarterly, some 6 month after 6 months, and some are annually. And there are different kind of mechanisms we use. We use different processes, tools, and capabilities at different lines of defense. So this is just an architecture where you can simply see like how things are done. So maintaining a secure infrastructures is extremely crucial, and you need to go through all the three lines of defense governance models. And this picture can gives you a brief overview. I'm not going to give you a very comprehensive overview of this one, but at the abstract level, you can clearly see the different things also on the slides and on the diagrammatically. So you can have like line of defenses, then there are time frames are different, and then their process tools and capabilities are different at different levels. So it's up to you, whatever policy or whatever governance models you need to apply, but this must be applied to secure and maintain a secure infrastructure. So we discussed that maintaining secure infrastructure is extremely crucial in cybersecurity. And then we discussed like different cybersecurity governance models. So one of the very well-known cybersecurity framework is known as NIST cybersecurity framework. The United States apply NIST cybersecurity framework to maintain to maintain secure infrastructure, to maintain secure critical infrastructure. So the process is basically starts with the identify. So you need to first identify and go through asset management. What kind of assets are with the organizations, and how sensitive the level of each asset is. And then you go with again, when you need to identify the business environment, you need to see the governance of that one.
You also go with proper risk assessment, the way we did like previously in different slides, like you go with the planning and then protection and then response. So a risk management strategy. So you need to identify all these things. So the first phase is identification, and it goes through identification of asset management, identification of business environment, business governance, identification of governance models, risk assessment and risk management strategies. The second phase of the NIST cybersecurity framework comprises of is known as protect, which is known as protection. So you need to apply a variety of mechanisms to go for protection. So you need to implement access control mechanisms, and then you need to create awareness and training programs within the organization, so that you need to aware and train every single employee of the organization. You also need to protect data security. Information protection processes and procedures should be properly in place. The maintenance should be properly in place. Maintenance should always be carried out, and protective technology should be placed everywhere. So this domain is extremely critical in this cybersecurity framework. The third one is detect. So you need to go for complete detection mechanisms like anomalies and events detections, intrusion detections mechanisms, a variety of cybersecurity adversities and attacks detection mechanisms. So security continuous monitoring is part of the detection, is part of the detection phase. So, and detection processes, various detection processes where you need to see and think like something can happen, then you need to go with the proper detection processes and mechanisms to be deployed on this phase. The fourth phase is response. So response is definitely you must have a proper response planning. You should have like proper communication mechanisms on how to respond on different events properly and timely. You need to go with proper analysis. You must have mitigation mechanisms, and then you will go with proper implementation of all these things at the response phase. The last phase is recover, how to recover. So you need to have like disaster recovery planning, you need to have recovery planning, and then you further go with the improvements on how improvement should be done at each level. And finally, you also need to have like timely communication to recover everything. So the last phase is complete preparedness to face every single thing, and then you must have complete recovery plannings for disaster recovery and business continuity planning and recovery. So all these should be done properly. So these five stages, like the NIST cybersecurity frameworks, basically comprises of five stages, which is the first one is identify, the second one is protect, the third one is detect, and the fourth one is respond, and the last one is recover. So this is a cybersecurity governance model, and this is a complete cycle, and the cycle should be properly executed, and that's where you can certainly maintain a secure infrastructure using NIST cybersecurity framework. The Americans and the United States is following the NIST cybersecurity framework to maintain secure critical infrastructure. So finally, we need to discuss how to maintain a secure infrastructure using some golden rules. So in this slide, I will be talking about the 20 golden rules that needs to be in place to maintain a secure infrastructure. We all need to know and understand these golden rules to be in place to maintain any critical infrastructure. So if you see the first rule is you have to maintain the inventory of authorized and unauthorized devices within the organization or the system. The inventory of authorized and unauthorized software, because the unauthorized software will create huge compromises within an organization. And it is extremely difficult to maintain a secure infrastructure if you have like unauthorized software or third-party softwares. The third one is secure configuration for hardware and software. So configuration kind of exploitations is too much. The vulnerabilities in configurations. We already discussed that it is one of the main part where you can launch different kind of attacks. So that should be in place. Controlled use of in administrative privileges. So the privileges should be properly in place so that nobody can go for privilege escalation. Uh, the sixth one is maintenance, monitoring, and analysis of audit logs. So audit logs, the analysis of audit logs are extremely crucial because you can trace what happens, and you can avoid different kind of exploitation using audit log. Proper audit logs can give you a huge amount of sensitive information, and then you can literally maintain secure infrastructure. Email and web browser protections are extremely crucial. Malware defenses, limitations and control, data recovery techniques must be in place so that you can, if anything happens, you must have data recovery mechanisms. Uh, a secure configuration for network devices are crucial. Uh, the boundary defenses, the physical security defenses are extremely crucial. So the overall organization, the fences, the guards, the cameras, the physical kind of security must be properly in place. The data protection mechanism. So there is a huge amount of crypto mechanisms behind data protection mechanisms. So all of those should be in place. Controlled access based on need to know. So on the need to know basis, there should be a controlled access should be provided to particular employees in the within the organization. Wireless access control. So wireless access control are extremely important. Wireless medium is the weakest medium to go for cybersecurity exploitations, and to this should be extremely protective, particularly the wireless access control mechanisms. Uh, on the 16, account monitoring and control should be in place. Security skills assessment and appropriate training to fill the gaps. I mean, the employee should be properly trained, and the awareness should be properly given to each and every employee, because sometimes the unintentional cybersecurity attacks are launched because the employees doesn't know anything, and sometimes they share sensitive information through email, and they don't know the sensitivity level of that information, because they really don't know, they are not aware, they don't have proper knowledge, they don't have proper training. So this is extremely crucial. Application software security is critical. If application security is the first line of target for all the attackers, so if I want to attack any system, I will certainly find the application of that system, or the application, because this is the one which I can easily get into and which I can easily compromise. So the application software security should be in place properly. Incident responses and management should be in place. Incident response teams, the CERT teams, all should be in place. So if anything, or if there is any mishappening, so you can easily control. Finally, penetration test and red team exercise should be continuously done. So the red teaming and the blue teaming exercise should be continuously done on monthly basis and quarterly and annual basis. So these are some of the golden rules which you can certainly apply and get a secure infrastructure and maintain a secure critical infrastructure. The United States of America use all of these golden rules plus their governance NIST cyber security framework. You can use anyone, and you can have your own cybersecurity framework based on these. Uh, However, it varies from country to country. But these golden rules should be applied everywhere, and these are potential rules that needs to be done to secure a critical infrastructure. Finally, if you have any questions, you are always welcome. If you want to explore on a particular topic, you're always welcome. Due to the time limitation, I couldn't go thoroughly and comprehensively on each topic. Although this is a huge area, if I'm just discussing a single domain, it will cause a single domain can cause around 30-35 hours of talks.
to get into like comprehensively. And we talked about the whole cybersecurity. It is not possible within this short limit of time, but uh, I'm always available at the university, and thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate the webinar on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity. This is I feel it's great to know the different domains, and I would certainly encourage all of you to dig out further to get into more on the technical sides. And this field is certainly an interesting and a very emerging field. If you see on a broader scale, and if you see like the emerging fields, so cybersecurity is one of the major potential field that will certainly emerge, since once the digital landscape increases, the importance of the cybersecurity will grow exponentially. Thank you very much. Have a great time. Thank you. Bye bye.